I'm in the 8th grade, and I'm 13, and I am the smallest kid in class and the weirdest kid in class. I made the mistake earlier this year of saying that I like the Muppets, and no one has ever let me forget it, because apparently, I guess at 13, you're just supposed to forget that you enjoy joy? Yes, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. I've also developed breasts and an anxiety twitch, neither of which I'm receiving any support from, either like through a bra or any kind of like medical psychological professional. It's a beautiful day in May, and I'm like staring out the window, and I'm just taking part in my favorite fantasy of high school, the place where everyone is accepted just the way they are. And I'm counting down the days, and then suddenly I'm like brought right back to it because I hear my teacher, and he says, "You guys have worked really hard this year, really appreciate that, so we're gonna give you a special treat. Now you guys know there's a graduation trip. We go to Montreal for the 8th grade, but this time, we're not just gonna go to museums, like we're going to museums, I'm so excited. And we're not just gonna go on a history walking trip." I'm like, "There's a history walking trip? Yes! We're also," and he pauses for effect, "going to go on a bike trip and discover the real Montreal." And all the kids, their eyes like light up, and it's like you can see, they can already feel the sun on their face. And my blood goes ice cold because they already think I'm weird, and now they're gonna learn that I can't ride bikes. Exactly. So I go home that night and I tell my mom, and without really running it by me, she calls the school. And the school says, "Don't worry, she can go on a trip, like a special shopping trip with one of the parents." Yeah, exactly. I'm like, nope, not gonna happen. And I make a decision, and that is I am going to learn to ride bikes. So thank you. I convinced my dad, I basically guilt him / like just wear him down to teach me how to ride a bike. Now, I know that sounds awful, but you have to understand that my father is traumatized from the last time he tried to teach me how to ride bikes. I was about 5 years old, and not only would I scream and cry constantly, I watched a lot of TV, so I knew that a dad, when he takes you out to learn how to ride a bike, and it's always a dad because it's TV, he sits you on the bike, and he holds the back of the bike, and you run and run and run, and then when you're so excited because you trust him with your whole heart, he lets go of the bike, and then you speed off. Hooray! So what I do is my dad, like when he finally gets me on the bike, every time I feel any slight change of pressure, I like turn back and like dead-eye him and stop the bike. And my father, to his credit, attempts this 3 times. So it takes a bit of convincing. A week of convincing. It's a Saturday, and we load out of our car with my bike, my brand new bike. And when I say brand new, it's the same bike from before, I've just never used it. It has streamers. And I walk out, my dad said we're gonna go to the park because if you fall, if you fall, you'll land on the grass and it'll be fine. And so we're taking out the bike, and I'm very nervous and excited, and it's just like there's like 2 badgers having a boxing match in my stomach. But I know that I can do this, and I walk out, and right at that moment, another car pulls up, and like a little girl, probably about 4 years old, pigtails, osh bagosh, comes out, and she's like, Daddy, I'm gonna learn how to ride a bike. This like 2.5-year-old baby. It's like so excited. And I think to myself, was I ever that innocent? And so we get on bikes, and she takes, I'm gonna say 5 minutes, and then is like, Daddy, I love bikes, I'm the best! No one will ever bully me, hooray! I mean, I assume. She's biked away too far for me to hear what she's saying. And I get on my bike, and my dad looks at me in the eye, and he says, Erin, you only need to know 3 things to ride a bike. 1, you sit on the bike. 2, you steady yourself. 3, you just pedal as hard as you can, and you can ride a bike. I know it. 4 hours later, he says, okay, Erin, all you need to do is just sit on the bike and not cry. 2 hours later, I can make like a little bit of a circle around. And I might still be crying, but I can do it. And I'm proud of myself. And I know that I can actually do this. Like, I can be cool. This is gonna be the best. It's a few weeks later, and we're in Montreal. And some things I need you to know is that I speak 3 words of French. And I have a terrible sense of direction. So when we are going to this trip, I'm like paying attention to every single small detail, trying to take in all the French culture, trying to figure it all out in my tiny brain. And as I'm paying attention to that, I don't even notice that one of the parents comes up to me and she puts a hand on my shoulder. And she says, Erin, I hear you and me and Kate are going on a special shopping trip. And I look at her and I say, no, I ride bikes. And I walk away. Yeah, it's a wonderful moment of triumph. And I get my bike. The only problem was this like moment of like smug triumph has meant that I am the last to pick up my bike. Now there's an expression that's like not a great expression. It's called the village bicycle. Yeah, it's a crummy expression. It's a way to say like a lady who's been around. However, this is like the bike that inspired that phrase. It is rusty, it is squeaky, it's got like an ancient old cracked banana seat. So instead of like a lady who's just like really confident in her sexuality and like a lot of fun, I have this like terrifying death machine. And I'm like about to like look up and be like, hey, I don't have a helmet, when I look and realize that everyone has gone. And I have no idea where they are, and I don't speak the language, and I have a terrible sense of direction. So I just start biking as fast as I can. 1, 2, 3, go, go, go. And the Badgers, like their boxing has gotten very, very intense. They're Ali, Boomaye. And I bike as fast as I can, and I fantasize about the bike trip, or the shopping trip I could be taking, all the bookstores I could be going to. But I go faster and faster, and I am just about to catch up to the slowest kid. Now, the other thing you should know about Montreal is it's built on levels. Some of you already know. It's built on levels. And so just as I'm about to catch that last kid, I realize I'm coming up to a hill. A big hill, and there is nothing I can do. And the 2 Badgers like cling to each other. Au revoir! And I bike, and I just zoom faster and faster, and all the sound is gone, like all the like bonjour, anana. I told you I'm not good at French. Of the street is gone, and it's just the wind whipping through my hair, which once again is not wearing a helmet. And I keep going, and in my mind, I'm fantasizing about my funeral. All the kids that will have to say, hey, here lies Muppet Girl. We were too mean. It is not that surprising when later I have like a Morrissey phase. And I'm going, and just as the fantasy fades, I get to the bottom of the hill. And I'm alive. Yes, it's amazing. I did not expect it either. And in my brain, and like in my stomach, the Badgers are like, au revoir, bonjour. They're so excited. And I know I've done it. I finally found my cool. And right at that moment, I hit a rock and just eat it and land on the ground. And I see far away Kate coming out of a bookstore with that parent, just with that smug, like, I didn't have to ride a bike, confidence. And I get up and I just get the gravel off of my knees and I start walking the bike. Because I tried, and I'm just within hearing distance of all the students. They haven't heard me yet because, levels. And I realize they didn't see me eat it. And I get on the bike, and 1, 2, 3, I ride up to the students. Yes, and I have pulled it off. Yes. And John, one of the most popular kids in my class, he comes over and he says, "Hey, I like that you rode bikes." Yeah, I know. And he is very kind to not notice that I am clearly bleeding and have gravel all over me. And I know 2 things. That I can surprise myself, and that I am never getting on one of these death machines ever again, which I don't until I discover in about 15 years, women really like bikes. Wink. Thanks so much.
Erin Rodgers.